Hi everyone. Today we're gonna break down an instrumental that was part of my beat tape. It is called La Petite Fleur and it was released like a few days ago. And it's such an amazing beat tape, such an amazing collection of songs. And please do me a favor, go to your Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you feel comfortable. Please go and stream for the beat tape and tell me which one is your favorite song, which one is the song that you like the least. Just interact with me and let me know anything related to the beat tape. And yeah, but before we can go further, let me introduce myself for the people that do not know me. My name is Moise Archip and I'm a producer slash musician residing somewhere in Africa. So if you wanna know where, ask me in the comment and I will let you know. And yeah, that was it for today. So once again, I welcome you back to my YouTube channel and let's jump into the studio session. Here is the session, kind of looking weird. Let me make everything a little bit bigger. Yeah, so here is the session. So my session looks like this because some of the things were not recorded inside Cakewalk, because that time I didn't have my computer with me. I'm using a desktop, so I was very far away and I couldn't use Cakewalk, and so that's why I had to record in another software. But the mix and the rest of the arrangement was done inside Cakewalk. Yeah, so let's jump into it. So before we can start, I'm gonna play a preview so that we can hear how it sounds, and the preview is the mastered version, and the breakdown I'm gonna do will be only with the mix session. So it might be different to the one, it might be slightly different to the one you're gonna listen to, but it's still the same person who produced it, the same person who mixed it, just the difference is just with the mastering. Okay, so yeah, let's preview the song. So now we have only listened to a part of the song, but if you wanna listen to the entire song, please go to get me on my Spotify, I don't know, iTunes, whatever you use, and you can listen to it entirely, and I would be so happy if you support my music as well, and yeah. So the first thing here is, let me reduce a bit to big. Yeah, so usually when I start producing, I always start with my drums because I like having the bounce, the vibe, by listening to the drums first. So I started with the drums. This is how the drums they sound like. I'm gonna mute. So this is how the drums themselves sound. Pretty much the same thing from the beginning to the end, and all of these samples, all of these, let me just say all of these samples are going through one bus. Let me do this, and the processing I've done is I used an EQ. With the EQ, I cut some of the lows and boosted just slightly, and boosted as well on the high mids and on the highs as well. But I had to use a low pass. It's a low pass filter, you know, to just reduce a little bit of the high frequencies, and all of them are going through a console emulator. So I use pretty much the console emulator for all my audios, all my tracks, and it just gives a certain color, a certain character to the sound, and it's very settled. So for you to hear that, you must really get used to the plugin, to the way they sound and all that. So it takes quite some time, but this is what I've done: put a console emulator, and on my FX chain I use the iHeart New York. This is the iHeart New York is a parallel compressor. So yeah, it's a parallel compressor, and I used it for, instead of me opening, let's say, another bus or another track for the parallel compression, I just throw the plugin on the track that I want to have the parallel processing, and that's basically what I've done. But before I can even go further, let me show you something. These are my reverbs that I've used for the entire production. I have the fine micro or fine micro, I don't know how to pronounce it. This one I use the space grinder for the, it's like a type of reverb, but it has like some type of reverbs and all that, just have some nice effect. I use the Valhalla Supermassive. I use the Air Reverb. This plugin, I got it by the time I bought myself an Emojio interface, and I have the tall reverb, and I'm using the short preset, and I have the M convolution easy, and what I'm using here is for the plate reverb, and I'm using a medium room. Okay, so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just doing this because if in case I'm talking about the reverbs, you must just know like which type of reverbs I'm talking to. I'm not gonna change or use anything special apart from these ones here. So yeah, so now let's break down them bit by bit. And on the kick, I had very simple processing that I've done. A compressor to just catch the transient, and I had an equalizer. This is basically what I've done with the equalizer. I had my console emulator. As I mentioned earlier on, I'm using the console emulator for all the tracks in the session, because I just wanted to have a certain type of sound for all of them. And on my FX chain, I'm using the iHeart New York because I wanted to give the parallel I wanted to have the parallel compression on this track. Like let me demonstrate it. If I stop the parallel compression, you see how it sounds? A little bit, I mean, it sounds like it's not really present, and it's also about the taste. And I just like to add a little bit the parallel compression. This is how it sounds like now. And sorry, I didn't speak about the saturator that comes before the parallel compression. This is the preset I'm using, and I kept the high frequencies. So basically I just boosted on the low, and then here is the snare. On the snare as well, I did really simple processing. My compressor, my EQ, I had my console emulator, another iHeart New York for the parallel compression, and so now I sent the audio to the short reverb and the chamber. I mean, this is not really the chamber because it's the plate reverb. I think I just named it like that by mistake, but it's the plate reverb that have. Yeah, I hope you can hear that reverb. And then here is my hi-hat. Also very simple processing. I had to remove a lot of the low frequencies and keep the one I wanted, and made a shelf on the high frequency, a console emulator, that was it. And it has a lot of effect coming from the reverb. Sorry, because I used a lot of reverbs here. So the most of the work being done by the reverbs. I used 3 reverbs and 1 delay. This is how it sounds like. So it went through the Valhalla the long reverb from the air reverb, the short reverb from the tal reverb, and the delay I use the air dynamic delay. And yeah, this is what's happening for the hi-hat. And for the open hat, the open hat is going through the Valhalla reverb, the long reverb, and the processing also basic, very simple. A compressor, an EQ, the console emulator, and that was it for the open hat. And I had a snap, such a nice snap. And by the way, all this sample, this one shot are coming from a cymatic sample pack. I mostly use cymatics in my production. And if you know some dope sample pack, please let me know. I'm keen to try. And yeah, you know. So, and now let's speak about the keys. With the keys, we have the Lounge Lizard session, and I think I used an EP preset. Yeah, so I did a compressor, an EQ, a console emulator. Then I sent it to the space grinder. Sorry, I don't know what's going on today. A long reverb, the short reverb, and the delay. And then at some point came this string section. This string section is from the Cakewalk. Actually, it's a stock plugin inside Cakewalk. This is how it sounds. Yeah, so what happening here, I'm using a pancake VST. This pancake, what it's doing, it's sending the audio from the left to the right, you know, it's just giving that bounce. And I had a compressor, an EQ, the console emulator, and the other work was mostly done by the reverbs. So I have the space grinder, the ambience reverb, the long reverb, the short reverb, and this other instrument here. This is the ultra analog session, and this is how it sounds. I'm having as well a pancake VST on it, and I'm having a compressor, an EQ, the console emulator, and what else? They are going through, and this one is going full in the space grinder, the long reverb, the delay, really fully, but halfway in the long reverb, and that was it. And I have the M1LE. This is a Korg piano. I think the preset I used might be a marimba, but I don't remember really. And it's going fully in the space grinder, almost 80% in the Valhalla reverb, and this is how it sounds like. Okay, and now we have the guitars. This is my main instrument, and in my production I always try to include the guitars. And yeah, this is basically what I do. And what I've done here is I played twice the same melody so that I could have the stereo effects, the one to the left and the other one to the right. And they all have slightly different processing. I have an EQ, I have a compressor, the console emulator, and lifticus, you know, just to give some just to give another color to the sound, because I also like this type of EQ. And I use the multi-chorus flanger. This is also a stock plugin from Cakewalk. And for the guitar playing at the left, I have a compressor, I have an EQ, and the EQ is slightly different from the, actually it's just different from the guitar playing to the left. So I remove a lot of the low frequencies, a little bit of the high frequencies, give it a little bit more body, a little bit of clarity, and more EQ, you know, a little slightly different from the first one. And this is how they sound together. So I was using my black acoustic, my Yamaha, and it sounded amazing. And now I had this other guitar playing for the left. It just had a little bit, it had another, I mean, it had a different processing as well. Like as we can see, the EQ is the same with the first one. Console emulator. I just added the multi-voice chorus slash flanger and torpedo wall of sound for the amp simulator. And this is actually my favorite amp simulator for the moment. And I have the lifticus again. And I'm using this preset. I literally made them myself. And this is how it sounds like. But the other work for the movement and all that are coming from the reverbs. The Space Granger, the Valhalla reverb, the delay, all of that. I try to be creative with that to just have all that movement from my sound. And I have the lead here. The lead was still played with that acoustic. It went through a long reverb, a short, a delay. The processing was a little bit delicate here. I had a compressor, a very fast attack, slow release, my EQ, a lot of I mean, I was just making a type of a treatment to make it sound a little bit good. And the console emulator, the saturator, and finally I had the last EQ. And here, and plus all of these tracks are going through, sorry, let me show you. All of these tracks are going through the guitar bus, and this is the processing on the guitar bus. Yeah, I gave a lot of I mean, I gave it some body. I reduced the high mid, the high, and what else? A console emulator, a compressor. This is a glue compressor. Also, it comes in Cakewalk with Cakewalk, so it's a stock plugin. And yeah, and then I have the lifticus again. And lastly, I use the IR New York for the parallel compression. And so now, lastly, or no, not really lastly, but the last instrument here was the bass. So what happened with the bass is uh, sounding weird, right? So I did also very simple processing. I put a compressor on it, very fast attack, slow release, an EQ. I tried to remove a lot of the high frequencies, boosted a little bit of the low and the low mid as well. And then the console emulator, and another EQ, and I out New York for the parallel compression, and that was the entire track plus these two tracks here. These ones here are the, let me play that. And this is like someone walking. But it's very low. It's very low. I'm not even sure you can hear that, but yeah, it was just there. Just because what I was going for was this type of lo-fi music. I tried my best to get a little bit closer, even though it wasn't like 100%, but that was the idea behind. I wanted to mix a little bit of the R&B, a little bit of the hip hop, a little bit of the lo-fi as well. So this is the final product, and now we can listen to it. So this is the end of our video, and all I want to ask to you is, firstly, don't leave without subscribing, liking, and commenting. And secondly, do me that special favor, go and listen to the song on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, all over the place. And later on, give me a comment, give me a feedback. You can do it either in the comment section, or you can even get me on my Instagram account. I will try to put the link in the description. And yeah, so I hope I will see you next time, and I hope you enjoy. Bye.